I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. At a Senate committee hearing on Homeland Security Thursday, Senator Rick Scott questioned David Pekoske, the nominee to lead the TSA, about undocumented immigrants flying. The Florida Republican questioned why he chose to allow undocumented immigrants to use ICE arrest warrants as a form of ID at TSA checkpoints. Pekoske explained that it was different from a normal arrest warrant, and those individuals undergo enhanced screening. Take a listen for more here.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Senator Scott, you're recognized for your questions.
Thanks for being here. So can you go through, I didn't get to hear all of Senator Hawley's questions, but go through exactly how and under what authority of the law you allow illegal immigrants, they're permitted to use their ICE arrest warrants as an acceptable form of identification for TSA. Explain why you would do that.
Yes, sir, I will, and thanks for the opportunity. That ICE arrest warrant is not a criminal warrant in the common term that most people would interpret it to mean. What it means is that this individual has encountered ICE, and ICE has released that person and given them this document as a form of beginning an identity verification process, like for TSA. And so when ICE issues these forms and that person chooses to travel, they make a reservation with the carrier as they normally would. They come into the screening checkpoint, they show us that form. That begins an entire process where we work to verify their identity. Essentially what we're looking to do is to ensure that this is the person who claims to be in front of us. And we've advanced this quite a bit over the past year and a half, to now we're working with Customs and Border Protection. We use biometric identification. So sometimes when these individuals approach the checkpoint, already with a reservation, we do a biometric, a facial scan. That app that's on an iPhone will return us a result that, yes, this person was encountered by Border Patrol or a Customs field officer, and they were paroled into the country, and we verify their identity biometrically. So they've been checked against the terror databases at the...
Have you been down to the border?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So my trips down there, everybody throws their ID away before they come across the border. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've not experienced where people have come over with their ID. So so what you just said doesn't seem like that's the way it would work. How could anybody ever verify who they are?
So they use biometrics, so either a facial image or a print.
So we have it from Mexico or Venezuela?
No, we have it from the individual, sir. And so the individual provides their biometric. We use that biometric to ensure that that biometric is not represented in any of our watch listing information.
So we actually don't really have good information. So what you're saying is somebody throws their ID away, mm-hmm. They come across the border and say, I'm Rick Scott, mm-hmm. All right? And then they say, I'm Rick Scott, here's my information. Border Patrol has no background because Cuba's not going to give it to you, or Venezuela or Nicaragua, right? And then they use that to get on the plane.
So that person who might not have identification encounters the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol captures their fingerprints, uses the fingerprints to ensure that they're not watch listed and they're admissible into the country. And then when that person approaches the TSA checkpoint, we go back and verify that this is the person that the Border Patrol admitted into the country, and this is the person that did not have any watch listing information on them. So irregardless of what outcome that is, once we go through our identity verification process, they all receive enhanced screening. So no person with one of those arrest warrants, which again are non-criminal arrest warrants, gets into an aircraft without enhanced screening. And in that enhanced screening process, there are situations where through enhanced screening we eventually deny entry as well, but that's kind of rare.
Okay. So as an American citizen, you have to have photo ID. Mm-hmm. And so well, let's take somebody coming across the border. So if I come across the border today, Border Patrol stops me. I say I'm whatever my name is. They take my ID. How fast can they fly on a plane?
We have processes where, because we have American citizens every day that lose their identity or forget their identity when they come to the checkpoint. And so we have some passengers that approach the checkpoint with no identity whatsoever. We use this very same identity verification process that is basically run out of our operations center here in the Washington.
They could fly the same day to get into this
They can fly the same day, provided that we can validate their identity. And we have a whole series of processes that we use to do that.
But if they're a Cuban citizen, you don't have any ability. If they've lived in Cuba all their life,
Right.
they flew into Mexico City, flew to Mexicali, came across the border,
Right.
then you have no information.
And if we have no information and can't validate their identity, then they don't fly.
So if they came across, they had no ID, they have no background, ICE says, the person comes and says, or give them their name and their fingerprint, they wouldn't be able to fly.
Unless we had captured their prints on their border crossing and checked them against the watch listing information that we all hold.
But they have no information. You have no information.
Right, but we would have their print.
So all you have then is they say their name and their print, and that day they could fly.
Arguably, yes, although that's rare, it's the same day.
Just stop and think about that for a second. You know you have no information from Cuba, right? You get nothing out of Iran. You get nothing out of North Korea. You get nothing out of probably a lot of Africa. You get nothing out of Nicaragua. And people can get on airplanes and fly immediately. Does that, I mean, it's,
Sure, but
as an American citizen, wouldn't you say that doesn't make sense?
before they can get on the aircraft, they go through a full pat-down. They go through a full bag search in addition to our regular screening process. So we have mitigated risk substantially in that process. And we know that because we take their print when they cross the border, we know that their print is not matching with anybody that's on the terrorist screening database.
I just think, just as an American citizen, you know people are coming across our border to harm us, right? You know, we didn't stop the 9/11 attackers, and we had the system there, right? And so, to me, I just think this is an unbelievable risk. When you stop and think about it, you can throw your ID away. You're a terrorist, might not be on the list yet, but you are here to do harm. And that day, as long as that people can fly, I mean, that just doesn't make sense.
Things are quite different, though, now from 9/11. I mean, we have a very sophisticated system that would detect people that would present harm to the United States. And we've used that system successfully for years now. This identity verification process has been in place since 2019.
I have one more question. So let me ask you a question. When I've gone through sometimes, they're doing tests to see how many people get through. So you guys do that, right? How many people get through? How many times does a gun get through?
We do covert tests on a pretty regular basis. Those results are always classified for obvious reasons. We use those covert tests to show us where vulnerabilities might exist in our system and to close those vulnerabilities as quickly as we can.
So, but I think you'd acknowledge that knives get through, guns get through.
Right. Now, knives and guns never get through enhanced screening.
Cannot get through a hand screen.
Right. Because we're taking the bag apart. We're doing a full pat down of the person.
So how about explosive?
We would detect explosives, knives, any prohibited item. It's very thorough,
Okay.
as it needs to be.
Okay. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Mr. Pekoske, Administrator Pekoske, both Senator Scott and Senator Hawley have been asking about the policy to accept arrest warrants at TSA checkpoints. My question for you is, when did the TSA make that policy change?
That policy change, sir, was made in 2019.
During the Trump administration?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a Trump administration policy?
Yes, sir.
Thank
And
you.
we've made it stronger since then.
Okay, thank you. Senator